East Anglia is littered with former World War II airfields. This is one of them. It's Snetterton in Norfolk, and 70 years ago was home to the United States Air Force. This amazing stainless steel structure commemorates that fact. Today it's one of Britain's foremost racing circuits, and it's not going to ring to the sound of heavy bombers, but the more strident noise of F1 sidecars, because we're here for round 3 of the Eastern Airways British F1 Sidecar Championship. The previous round, round 2, took place at another airfield circuit, but the conditions and the weather could not have been more different. That was a wet, windy and very cold Thruxton. By the time we got to the actual sidecar races, the weather had improved significantly. The wind was still there, the bitterly cold wind was still there, but the rain had gone and the track was drying. There were some damp patches, however, and without the Birchells and Tim Reeves here, it was always going to be a bit of a dogfight between the pole position men. Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence on the number 49, 72, Scott Laurie and James Neve were always going to give it their best, and they certainly did here. Chasing them down, Ben Holland and Lee Watson on the number 60 Suzuki, and 3 Suzukis then streaming away at the start of race 1. And neck coming up the Woodham Hill, where these outfits approach speeds of 160 miles an hour to get it all slowed down at the chicane. Not an easy thing to do. Lovelock and Lawrence, of course, on home ground at Thruxton. Further down the order, Barry James and Callum Lawson had a ding-dong scrap with our Scandinavian crew, Johan Reuterholt and Aki Alto, who were really acquitting themselves well here. But it was Mark Edwards and Lee Barrett who stole the final podium place with a fighting third. Victory, though, to Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence. Could they do it again in race 2? Well, they were certainly going to try, and try they did. Ben Holland and Lee Watson also had a massive job to do, but they pushed hard. But coming from the back of the grid, Scott Laurie and James Neve rocketing up. Nobody thought they'd get it stopped and turned, but they did. The rate of passenger attrition here was very high. Rob Wilson jumping out of Stephen Kershaw's outfit, and he was not going to be the last passenger to cry enough. In fact, 1 or 2 passengers after Thruxton decided they didn't want to do this anymore. Rattling over the cobblestones, it was Stephen Mullen to come out of Kyle Young's outfit. He was another passenger to fall victim. Aki Alto, the passenger with Johan Reuterholt, got a good view of the back end of Ben Holland's outfit as they flashed through. The battle then ahead of them was very much alive. Could the Scandinavian do anything about it? Well, he was certainly going to try. What a man he is. Sweeping out of the chicane, he dragged alongside Scott Laurie. The victory was theirs for Lovelock and Lawrence. Second, a double victory here. Second win of the day. Runner-up spot, Ben Holland, Lee Watson, and the final place on the podium, Reuterholt and Alto. There it is, confirmed then, the standings, 36-point lead for Roger and Rick. Ben Holland, Barry James, the Birchells relegated to 4th, they didn't play, of course. Laurie and Neve, disastrous weekend for them. Reuterholt there in 6th. Edwards did himself a power of good with that podium. There it is, the 16 points. God, he needed those. And the rest of the players fanning out behind. Andy Peach, a mediocre day by his standards, but we'll see more of him in the weeks to come, I'm sure. Janusz Remschi not here. Those are his points from Brands Hatch. What a terrific start to the new season for Roger Lovelock and indeed Ben Holland and Barry James. 3 new drivers then right up there at the top of the championship with, of course, their passengers. As for Birchall and Reeves, well, they're further down the order and they're not here again this weekend, away on TT duty. So there's a real chance for those 3 guys to build their lead even further. Snetterton, very fast. It's not new to us. We were here last year. I did 3 laps with young Steve Kershaw, and trust me, it's blooming scary. Snetterton has 2 fast straights, and this, of course, a start-finish straight, so leaving the line. They will just hook top gear before the first right-hander of Riches. Back 1 gear here to 5th. Moving along the little top bit now, hooking top again. There on the left you can see the scary tree. That's enough to frighten you, isn't it? It looks at one focal point that locks into your visor as you come round there. Montreal, this right-hander. Down towards a left-hander of Palmer. Back to 3rd gear here. Down the gearbox, this is tight. In fact, it tightens up. get on the power, drive it, drive it, drive it, up 2, short shifting towards 5th, and then you have to get it stopped, hard on the anchors for the very tight 2nd, maybe 3rd gear bend of Agostini. This is really tight, into the sunshine again, away towards the gradual left-hander of Hamilton. This is taken in 4th, just nudging 5th before getting on the brakes again, down 2 to the right-hander of Oggies. Listen to the engine, here we go. Kept the gear there, did not change gear. The right-hander of Oggies round towards Williams. Now on the back straight, the quickest part of the circuit, 5th, top gear, 150 miles an hour, or thereabouts into what was the old chicane. This is now Brundle. In fact, I bet it's 150 plus under the bridge. Through Brundle, the right-hander of Nelson, leading towards the old bomb hole, still named the bomb hole. Here we go, just a slight dip, through they go, up the rise, and then into this right-hander of Coram. Back to 5th, round and round and round it goes, getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You've then got to get it stopped for the 2nd gear of Murray's, putting the passenger over the cobbles, and that is a lap of Snetterton. Motorsport is a costly business, and F1 sidecar racing is just about as costly as any. None of these teams could run at this level, or indeed race at all, without some outside assistance. That's why all of these fairings are carrying stickers and names of varying sorts. If we look at Ben Holland, Rymore Engineering jumps out as the prime sponsor on his bike. Moving along to the BMW, clearly the main name on there is Buildbase, along with several others. We've got the Pie People, we've got Oxford Fairings, L&W, they're contractors from down south of London in the Kent region. Obviously a big player as far as Andy Peach is concerned. Moving on to the German crew as well, they've got a variety of names in it, some of which I don't recognise, of course, but Oropoco Lodge looks like a rest home, maybe for old folk like me, who knows. Finally, Roger Body's outfit, Lime Logistics. That is going to be the subject of our Spotlight feature this week. Carol's going to take a look at some of the other teams, their sponsors, and what works for them.
I'm here with Stuart Hicken, team manager of Buildbase BMW. They've got solos here, they've got Sidecar here today. So Stuart, how do Buildbase make the sponsorship work for them?
Well, for Buildbase, evidently we're a national company. They have 147 depots, hire base, plumb base as well. It's all about corporate sponsorship for ourselves. We entertain around about 90 people over the weekend of guests with food and various other things that we do with garage visits. So for them it's all about their customers, looking after their customers. They have a database of around about 1 million customers. We've been with Buildbase now, this is our 5th year. We've just moved into sidecars as well. We give them 2 motorcycles in Superstock racing and 2 in Superbike racing. Well, sidecar racing was in the doldrums a while ago. It's always been very, very entertaining, and I think now the guys have stepped up to the level where they look professional. Now they've moved into with MSV and Superbike, and I think it will get stronger.
Stuart, sponsorship's getting harder to find now. What would you say to somebody who was thinking of coming on board with sponsorship?
I spoke to one of the sidecar sponsors actually at the first meeting, which was the Pie People, and they've come on board with product for us into our corporate. So I'm hoping that when we've had some burly builders here eating their pies, they'll be looking for the Pie People's pies. So it's really all about trying to get everyone to work together.
Gary, the first thing I saw when I walked down here was all the Echelon flags. You have Echelon everywhere. So what are they all about?
Echelon are our main sponsor. They're a St Albans-based company. Their actual business is a consultancy company that deal with the housing associations and local authorities to help maintain their housing stock.
And in terms of the sponsorship, what were you able to offer them as a package?
What we've done is corporate branding. So it started off really with getting the truck and getting the truck branded up for them. And then we work on other things, the flags, the leathers, entrance mats, all those things. So they've got a corporate image at the racetrack. What Echelon like to do is they use it to bring clients down and their own staff as an incentive. So we'll lay on hospitality. And what they find is the fact it's really good for them to have a base. Because if you come to a race meeting, you're stuck with carrying your clothes, the kids, everything for the weekend. Whereas they can come here, they can leave their stuff, they can have tea, coffee, they can have a snack, they can go off, wander around, look at some racing. And also when they come back, they're part of it. Actually, it's more involvement in the race meeting than just being a spectator and watching.
L&W Racing very much in evidence here on several of the outfits. I'm here with David Walton from L&W. What do your business do, Dave?
We do a lot of railway work directly for Network Rail in the south of England.
And you've been involved in sponsoring several teams since 2002. Now you've actually put in sponsorship into the series. Why did you decide to do that jump, and what does that give to you?
Well, I think it gives us more of an opportunity then to be known all over the country, that we have other hobbies rather than work. It gives me a lot of relaxation.
So, David, why did you choose sidecars? There's lots of other forms of motorsport.
I feel that with the area of the sidecar, that it gives my logo a full exposure, and I think that's a good place to be.
And as we can see, you've certainly taken advantage of that, haven't you?
Very much so. We've still got some room left to put some more on there.
Excellent, thank you.
With one session of free practice already under their belts, we had a few surprises, but to get a grid position is essential here. Some of the crews haven't been here before. Jörg Steinhausen hasn't been here before. Johan Reuterheld hasn't been here before. So qualifying is going to be vital. 23 starters, a packed grid. Couldn't be better. Let's see what qualifying delivers. Well, the one thing it delivered was scorching weather, I can tell you that. The track temperature approaching 40 degrees, and it gave these guys the opportunity to put the Avon slicks to good advantage. Ricky Stevens and Colin Nicholson Jr. in for the first time this weekend. One of our newer crews in the championship, Craig Chaplow as well, going pretty well indeed, with Darren Tritton on board. But running at the front, it was the old crews again of Lovelock and Lawrence. They were going well. A retirement for Ian Guy. His tray came loose. Underneath the outfit is a tray. That came loose. The BMW just came in for a few adjustments, but the Bill-based BMW going very well. Mark Edwards and Lee Barrett had a retirement, so they were going to start further down the grid. Jörg Steinhausen and Gregory Clues, however, along with Ben Holland and Lee Watson, made sure that they were strongly positioned at the sharp end of the grid. Barry James and Callum Lawson, they've been really consistent. These guys, though, were the quickest around. The red flag brought to an end the session, a mechanical failure to Craig Chaplow. Roger Lovelock, Rick Lawrence, I said in the introduction that you really needed to capitalise on that 36-point championship lead. Well, you've made a good start, haven't you?
Yeah, so far so good. Well, yesterday we had an engine issue. Yesterday we only managed 2 laps in the warm-up, free practice, which I don't know. I thought it was going to put us a bit behind, but to get P1 is I'm pretty chuffed with that, to say the least. Yeah.
Well, there's our Diamond Jubilee grid. Barry James, Callum Lawson joining Roger and Rick on the front row. Then Reuterheld, terrific result for him. 4th quickest, Ben Holland alongside him. Moving down, it's a 4th row for Mark Edwards. Ben Bygrave gets the BMW on the 4th row. Gary Smith going well. John Clark, Stuart Graham, they're all up there. A good qualifying as well. 14th for Gary Horsepole. Ricky Stevens, 13th, he did okay. Chaplow 16th, despite throwing a Conrod out of the front of the engine. Ian Drown and Shelley Smith is lady competitor. She's his passenger this weekend. Well, I hope all of that has whetted your appetite for what's going to come next. We're going to take a short break. You've already seen how they line up. Roger Lovelock on pole. Can he turn it into a win in race 1 after the break? Welcome back to the grid for race 1, and it's really, really warm, I can tell you. I'm not sure I'd want to be doing 30-odd miles in this heat, especially if you've never seen Snetterton before. Jörg Steinhausen and Greg Clues on row 3. He's never been here before, but a good qualifying. Andy Peach joins him on row 3 with Tony Belsey, a new passenger for this weekend. Charlie Richardson is away on Isle of Man TT duty. Moving straight back, you find Kenny, as we go now, move that way a little bit, slightly. Ben Holland and Lee Watson, number 60, they're always there or thereabouts on the yellow and black Rymore Engineering sponsored outfit. Johan Reuterheld, Aki Alto. having boiled up in qualifying. They only did about 6 qualifying laps. A head gasket running at over 111 degrees forced their retirement, but they'd already done enough to get them on road 2. Barry James and Callum Lawson, the one-piece fairing on that bike. How slick do you want it? But here we are again. 36 points their championship lead. Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence, like I say, 30 miles, it's going to be tough. It's unbelievably hot here. It is very, very warm indeed. The red flag just waiting to go. He'll get the green flag from the back of the grid. 24 outfits on the line here. You can only get them 2 abreast across the grid, of course, because they're big, they're wide. But we've got 2 men on each. In one case, a lady. The lights go out. Away we go then towards Riches, the 5th gear right-hander. Who's going to get it? It's Lovelock with his nose in front. Barry James up the inside. Barry James and Callum Lawson get the whole shot into the first turn. Round they come, the scary tree with his arms in the air. Here we go, Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence having a look. Ben Holland, Lee Watson as well. So their daggers drawn here. This is a frantic first lap at Snetterton here. I'll bring Carol in just as soon as I can once they settle down. But Carol, this is manic. I mean, everybody was going for it. And look at them, first lap.
Fantastic shots, isn't it? I mean, they're just all wanting that, and they're jumping the bit there, aren't they?
They are. Ben Holland, Lee Watson into the lead. Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence. Pole position for them, but they're in second place. A bit of puff of dust. Everybody else stringing out behind them, but they're just so close. Nobody wants to make a mistake in the early stages. Barry James across the rumble strip there in 3rd place. He lost the back end, but he was on the rumble strip and he's through. Here we go. Who's 4th? I can see Steinhausen has spun out. Jorg Steinhausen on the grass, as indeed is Scott Laurie and James Neve. Well, this is crazy stuff.
That's going to be good watching Scott come back to the back of the grid, wasn't it, after that good job he did at Thruxton.
Well, Scott Laurie and James Neve will be dashing off to the Isle of Man TT immediately after the close of the last race. So let's have a look. We're on board with Steinhausen and Gregory Clues, one of the best passengers in the business. This is the spin. Round they go, facing the wrong way now, the German. So he's got a bit of work to do. It's going to be interesting, Carol, to see his progress through the field. Let's compare the speed of these 2 Suzukis.
There's nothing in there, the neck and neck down there. I think Roger's probably just got the edge on Ben, maybe. No, maybe not. Nothing in the top speed of those 2 at all, is there?
GSXR 1000 Suzuki, super stock form. I remind you, these outfits weigh about 220 kilograms. They do about 160 miles an hour, developing 170 brake horsepower in stock trim or thereabouts. The BMWs, on the other hand, are turning out something like 180 at the back wheels. So you would think the BMWs would have the edge, but it's Suzuki, leads Suzuki. Ben Holland, number 60. We're looking now from Roger Lovelock. Oh, look! Excuse my bottom, said Lee, but I'm coming in front of you.
Quite a good shot of Lee's arse there, actually, wasn't it?
Across the grass. I tell you, it's unbelievably close contact. You heard in the interview Stuart Hickins say how spectacular F1 sidecar racing is, and you in your armchair at home are getting a real flavour now of just how close this racing is and how these guys get stuck in. 1 and 2 in the race. Lovelock and Lawrence, 49 in second place. Massive championship lead. Again, those leathers of Rick Lawrence ruffling in the breeze. He likes to wear them slack. He doesn't like to have his body movement restricted. Lee Watson's leathers, conversely, looking skin tight.
Yeah, they're a lot tighter, aren't they, actually? Like, Rick always flaps around. I mean, to me, I find that really quite distracting, actually, but it works for him. So
keeps him cool as well, I suppose.
Yes, certainly need it in this weather as well, aren't they?
Very hot out there. This is the battle for the lead. Now we're going to get a good measure. Lovelock swapping from one side to the other, chopping back on the inside. He's alongside Ben Holland. Oh, nearly put Ben Holland on the grass, back across the front. This is nip and tuck, these 2. We've got a combination of age and experience on the green outfit, and youthful exuberance and fine racecraft, in actual fact, from Ben Holland. He's one of our up-and-coming young drivers on the Rymore Engineering Suzuki.
Yeah, if you compare the experience of Ben to like Roger, I mean, he's relatively a newcomer, isn't he? So it's fantastic work he's doing there.
He's doing a good job. So you're looking at the race leader. The slick tyre just holding up really, really well. I did wonder if 30 miles around here was going to be bad on tyre wear, but obviously the Avons have given us a choice of compound. They know what they're using. It's a mixture of thought, really, whether you go for the hard tyre, which sometimes self-destructs and goes glazed and then doesn't grip at all, or whether you chance a sticky, soft option. Gary Smith and John Allen, a new passenger. Gary Smith and John Allen rocketing past Johan Reuterholt, who spins out, and Aki Alta, oh dear, upside down on the grass. The Finnish passenger there underneath the driver, who does not have the use of his legs. I remind you, Johan Reuterholt suffered an injury many years ago and rides that outfit with his upper body only. Aki Alto taking a little bit of a bang on the head, the Finnish passenger there. But Reuterholt, right it back up. Come on, let's get back to business. Where are you, Aki? Jump in. That necessitated a safety car. Remind us, Carol, now of the safety car rules.
Right, with the safety car rules, they have to follow behind it and they can't overtake, so they're going to have to maintain the position. But what it does do, it gives the other teams advantage to close up, and you'll see Andy Peach there wanting to get on the back of Barry James, because when that goes back into the pit lane, they're going to be all for it. So any gaps they've got, they're definitely going to take advantage of that here.
So the guys who are sharp to this will be doing their utmost to close the gap and narrow. I mean, the safety car is going at not a rough, fast speed, so that should be easy, you would have thought.
It's not, though, is it? Because if you think you're further down the field, you've got to go harder and faster to try and catch up with the pace that's set in there.
And you can only catch the outfit in front, you can't pass him.
Yep, definitely can't pass him, otherwise you're going to get yourself a penalty.
Okay, here we have the freight train. It's a 6-wheeler, it's a 9-wheeler, it's a 12, it's a 15-wheeler. They are close together. The lights are out. The safety cars in the lane. They can't overtake until they cross the start-finish line. Ben Holland and Lee Watson. Lee Watson's head is down. They know this is a golden opportunity to snatch the lead going into Riches. And they're taking a play, and they've done it. They're in front at Riches. Brilliant undertaking move, not an overtaking move. A brilliant move by Ben Holland and Lee Watson up the inside. Well, they certainly made that work to their advantage.
Yep, they're certainly back out and gone there, aren't they? And I think they're going to try and keep that position now. Just not going to let them get away with it, is it by any chance? I wouldn't have thought.
The Rymore Suzuki then. Ben Holland just putting his passenger slightly over the curb. Let's see how quick Roger Lovelock's Suzuki is. Well, it's looking quick, but it's not quick enough. The left-hander, Watson gets out, holding that wheel down. It's a fine balancing act. Into the pits, number 91, Liam Abbott and Justin Sharp. So their race is run. They were here at Snetterton last year, riding in the National Championship. Neck and neck, these two, but again, brilliant racecraft by Ben Holland. He's got his work cut out because Roger Lovelock is nothing if not determined.
No, he's not making it easy for Roger at all, is he? And so, like I say, Roger's really wants that position, so he wants to make advantage, bring his points up further.
Well, a healthy championship lead. All of these guys have really got to do everything they can, because when we get the Birchells and maybe Tim Reeves back in the championship, I'm not going to take anything away from the efforts of these guys, but they're going to have another crew in there fighting hard.
Yep, they're going to all get a run for the money then, aren't they?
The first and second, you're watching them now. The gap back to third is significant, and we're looking to see who it is. Barry James, Callum Lawson in a safe podium spot, so they are living up to their consistent run this year. Gary Smith in the middle of the action there, also the BMW of Steinhausen, but Ben Bygrave and Paul Napton with their yellow helmets on the build-based BMW, so we've got two BMWs locked together further behind these guys. We're riding with the second-place crew of Lovelock and Lawrence. Ben Holland is giving as good as he gets. Heading out then towards the right-hand of Montreal. Round they go, Lovelock on the inside, and he does it. Away they go then, back now towards Palmer, the left-hander. Into the left-hander on the last lap. Is Ben Holland going to do anything? Has he got anything left in his locker for this last lap? The 3-mile circuit at Snetterton. It's a long lap, Carol. Give us a last gasp.
Yep, he's going to be giving it all he's got to keep this position. There he is, he's just hit the fastest lap, and I think he's only about 0.5 of a second off of the Birchall's record from last year. So, yeah, Roger's definitely going for it now, isn't he?
Well, he's come strong at the right time. Number 74, Ben Bygrave and Paul Napton with Scott Laurie and James Neve. James Neve looking backwards as the wheel, very nonchalantly as the wheel floated, he looked backwards to see what the BMW outfit behind him was doing. So build-based BMW, number 74, Ben Bygrave and Paul Napton. Good to see them going well after such a disastrous start to the season. Having said that, they've really only done one weekend's racing, because it's the first time the BMW has really got up to speed and is going well. So they're settled. The rest of the crew, I saw Steinhausen there flashing through. So Steinhausen is ahead of Scott Lorry. And then Ben Bygrave, so he will finish something in a region of 6th or 7th place, I suspect. Race leader then, the checkered flag awaits. They're into the left-hander of the last time down at Murray's, the newly named left-hander at Murray's. The sprint to the line. Ben Holland's going for it. Is he going to be able to steal it? Dive out of the slipstream. Come on, you're drafting him. Oh dear, half an outfit's length. But Lovelock and Lawrence held on to take the win. Number 49, brilliant. Another victory for them. So that makes it 4 victories in 5 races. So they are doing very, very well indeed. Confirmation of that, let's take a look at it as Rick does his customary handstand. Well, 20 minutes that race. I wouldn't want to be doing that in that heat. Holland, Steinhausen's on the podium. Barry James was relegated. Lorry, Bygrave, good for them, 6th place. Gary Smith and John Allen, fantastic. Horsepole, good result for Gary Horsepole in 8th. Andy Peach still in the doldrums there at 11th, but he'll come good. And series promoter Roger Body and Carl Schofield just outside of the points. Half a dozen people didn't finish, but of course, there's always race 2. Roger Lovelock, Rick Lawrence, you came away from Thruxton with a massive lead, pole position yesterday. You won race 1 today. I mean, you're just on it, mate, aren't you?
Well, yeah. It was a tough race, definitely. The course car came out, safety car, sorry, and they sort of caught us up again. I think we had a bit of a small lead on them, but yeah, took the win again. We'd certainly take advantage of it, but Ben was right there at the end of it when we made a bit of a mishap on the last corner, so on the start-finish straight, and I thought he was going to drag us up the to the finish line, but no, we held on to it, took the win, 25 points. That'll do me, thanks.
Ben Holland, Lee Watson, what a great race. I mean, you were neck and neck and neck, Ben. It looked at one moment as though you were going on the grass.
Yeah, it was certainly a tough race. It was quite hot in the Busan inside the bike as well. Yeah, we just managed to sort of outbrake ourselves a little bit. Roger let us come past, and yeah, he just out-dragged us up the straight, and then yeah, it was a little bit close going up the straight, but it was all right.
Jörg Steinhausen, Greg Clues, an absolutely fantastic race to get on the podium, because the first lap was not looking good.
No, it wasn't looking good from my point of view either. I missed the brakes. I was pushing too hard in the first lap because I didn't want to lose the train, and yeah, not enough track knowledge, so I missed the point of braking in. Yeah, it was a pity.
For Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence.
Well, off the back of that, there's not a great deal more for me to say other than join us again after the break, because I need to go and lie down in a dark room. That was some race, and we've got another race to come. Race 2 after the break. Welcome to the grid for race 2, and I can tell you it's really warm. The track temperature approaching 40 degrees. The grid forms up based on the result of race 1, with the exception there's been a bit of a shuffle. Promoted to the 3rd row, Ben Bygrave and Gary Smith, because Scott Lorry overtook on the pace car and was knocked back 10 seconds. That put him back on row 4. Jörg Steinhausen and Gregory Clues here on the 2nd row now from their podium. Barry James and Callum Lawson shoved out of a podium place in race 1. They're desperate to make amends and get on the podium, of course, but a front row, and in the front row here we've got Ben Holland and Lee Watson, who had a stunning 2nd place, missing it by fractions of a second on the Rymore Engineering Suzuki. But again, 4 wins already this year. Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence. You wouldn't bet against them doing it again, would you? It's going to be 30 miles of pure heat, very, very fast racing. Lovelock always looks so calm and collected. I know that's a cliche, but he does look very, very calm indeed. They're on board then. Ben Holland and Lee Watson with a real job to do now. They need a win. They need a win, and they're more than capable of a win. Steinhausen right behind them. Barry James to the right of Steinhausen and Clues. The Bill-based BMW getting a cracking start, but it's 3 abreast going into the first turn. Scott Lorry coming back through, having been bumped well down the order. What a flyer the Scotsman got. Scott Lorry and James Neve, well, they've gone through almost into the lead. They're certainly up into 3rd place, but it's Lovelock and Lawrence leading. Then it's Barry James behind Scott Lorry. Right with him is Steinhausen. Steinhausen pushing hard. Race leaders, 49, 60, 72. Barry James, Jörg Steinhausen, Greg Clues on the BMW. So the German then, from the 2nd row, didn't do that cleverly, but he's right there in the thick of the mix. That's your top 5. Looking on the inside, Ben Holland, no way through. The rest of them, the Bill-based BMW up there, Ben Bygrave and Paul Napton, they're all strung out again. Carol, this is bedlam. Let's just stick with it for a second. Roger Lovelock, Rick Lawrence leading. They've got to get away if they can. Barry James diving on the inside. It's Steinhausen. Barry James let the back hang out. The German, Steinhausen, pushing hard. He's alongside. Oh, he's alongside. Unbelievably hard shove. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. Oh, they're okay. The lad's just saying, are you okay? Oh, lump in your throat, the heart in your mouth, stuff that. Carol, talk us through.
That was a big, big crash, wasn't it? It looks like Steinhausen's gone into the side of Barry there. Whether he knew he was there or not, I don't know. Could have thought he was past, maybe.
That is a concrete wall, but the boys mercifully are okay, and the race goes on because they're off the racing line, they're off the track. They're off the track, they're into a wall. What? Well, that's got to be controversial. That was a massive, massive shunt. Already a retirement. Liam Abbott out of the running there. This is the race at the front. Carol, there's hardly time to talk about that incident, but I've no idea what happened. Maybe we'll get to find out, but it certainly looked an aggressive overtaking move up into the lead. Scott Lorry and James Neve past Lovelock and Lawrence, then Ben Holland, Lee Watson, then it's Steinhausen, Jörg Steinhausen and Greg Clues. That's your top 3. I'm breathless.
Now I think we're going to see where Scott Lorry came from. There he is. You can just see us poking his nose through there, and that's not easy to pick your way through that lump. Bike's going everywhere. There he goes. Fantastic stuff.
Brilliant start. We're looking backwards from Roger Lovelock, of course. Now we're looking backwards from Jörg Steinhausen. Let's see. Into view comes Lorry and Neve. Oh, goodness me, that was a proverbial cat's whisker through there. Good job Clues' hand wasn't down at the side when Scott Lorry came through, because he'd have broken his fingernails, and that's not good, because he's getting married very shortly. Doesn't want broken fingernails on his wedding day. Scott Lorry, James Neve leading. Lovelock and Lawrence, 49. We're getting used to seeing them running at the front, but they're being dished out some action now. A retirement for number 44, Roger Body and Carl Schofield, making a comeback ride. Roger here, he's thoroughly enjoyed his weekend so far, I can tell you that. But it's frantic stuff at the front. Lorry and Neve desperate to make some points before they clear off to the Isle of Man TT. Lovelock and Lawrence don't want to lose the top step on the podium. Ben Holland and Lee Watson under pressure now from the German. Jörg Steinhausen, son of the twice world champion Rolf Steinhausen, with Gregory Clues, the Frenchman, on board. It's a long time since I saw German and French working so well together, but they are. A throw of the arm to stabilise himself. Carol explained to me previously what that was all about. As he transfers his weight, he needs to compensate. Here we go then, we're riding with the race leader, looking back, and look at Steinhausen on the phenomenally fast BMW alongside of Ben Holland, but he couldn't make it stick.
No, it just looked like Ben outbraked him there, didn't it? And it looks like Lovelock's actually pulling away a bit there, doesn't it? You can see back of their bike, Rick's foot wagging in the air there, and then closing his boots.
Well, you're looking at this, Carol, from a passenger's perspective, and quite rightly, because you are a passenger hoping to drive one day, but you're certainly a passenger as you sit here, so you know what these guys are going through. You can see Steinhausen climbing all over the back, and the strength of Ben Holland is on his braking. He's very, very good on the brakes, and now Scott Lorry's going to have to do some demon braking to keep Roger Lovelock behind him. Roger Lovelock looking at the inside. James Neve, a big lad, just saying, get thee behind me, Satan, and that's what he's managed to achieve. Lovelock and Lawrence still there in second. This will be a great result for Scott Lorry if he can bring it home. Steinhausen is past. He's past Ben Holland, so in a podium place now, Steinhausen to equal the podium place from race 1. There, Callum Lawson from the... can you read lips? Wasn't very complimentary, I'm sure. But there you go, they were punted well and truly off the track, and now Callum Lawson venting his feelings over the barrier. Up then into the lead. Lovelock and Lawrence take over the lead from Scott Lorry and James Neve, who are now going to come under pressure from Steinhausen. In fourth place, it's Ben. This is a fantastic race. How close do you want it? You could get them all in the back of a small Arctic, couldn't you?
It's a great battle, isn't it? I mean, all four of them are going for it, aren't they? I wouldn't actually like to put a bet on who's going to win this, actually.
No, well, as I haven't got any money, as I sit here in the commentary box, I'm not going to gamble anyway. But you have to think that Steinhausen can make some headway on Scott Lorry. Scott Lorry, though, doesn't give up easily, so I'm amazed, really, that Lovelock has got past. He's just such a wily old fox. Suzuki, BMW, Suzuki. The build-based BMW also running strongly further down the order. 156.9, lap record still 156.164, held by the Birchells from 2011. I just remind you, Mark Edwards, another retirement. Well, what's your problem, Mark?
Where it kept jumping out of gear yesterday, we twisted the cradle, and it's just twisted again, so back to the drawing board. We'll sort it for knockhill.
We know the Kawasaki's quick because he was on the podium at Thruxton. A twisted cradle, presumably, Carol, that's where the engine sits.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the engine mounting there.
Okay, here we go. The top four, they're well clear. Now, who's sitting in fifth place? It is the Bill-based BMW, Bygrave and Knapton. Then it's Andy Peach right behind them. So Andy Peach and Tony Belsey acquitting themselves a little bit better in this one. Sixth place, they're in a 10-point position, but this is the front. Lovelock and Lawrence, 25 points again up for grabs here. Steinhausen coming out of the slipstream. Let's have a look. There's Steinhausen past Scott Lorry, so up to second place. Now, all that is standing between him and the top step of the podium is the number 49, and I can tell you, that's not going to be an easy call to get past Lovelock.
No, I don't think Scott's going to let him get away with that either, isn't he? He's looking to get that place back, and I should think he's going to try and dive down the inside there on the brakes.
Well, Scott needs the points. You know, he's had a pretty miserable start to the season, and we know his capability. We know how good he is, but there it is. That's the battle unfolding on track. Lovelock leads, Steinhausen second, Scott Lorry in third, dropping away now in fourth place, Ben Holland and Lee Watson, but this is an enthralling battle between these three at the front of the pack. We're going to take a short break. Don't miss it. Come back and join what happens. Ooh, what would I give for one of those? Even the water in the commentary box has gone tepid. It is boiling here, but not as hot as these guys, I can tell you. Under that fairing with the front brake giving out something like 250 degrees centigrade, it's going to be jolly warm for the driver, very hot for the passenger. Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence about to be passed by the BMW, flying BMW of Jorg Steinhausen and Gregory Clues. We have a new race leader. Then, oh, massive impact! Massive impact right in the tail end of the BMW. We're on the grass now with the green meanie, the number 49 of Lovelock. And that will have, that's front-ended, that's moved the fairing. That has raised the fairing, Carol. It's sitting much higher. That's going to change his riding position.
Yeah, that's going to unsettle that slightly, isn't it? So he's just bashed into the back wheel, isn't he, of Steinhausen there? And then you see Ben take advantage of that quite quickly as well.
He did. Well, you know, hats off to Ben Holland and Lee Watson, because they are such experienced competitors at such a relatively tender age. Lovelock and Lawrence, though, are still giving it the best shot. You can see the front end damage. You can also see the fairing moving about, so it's moved it on its brackets. It was a terrific impact. They were lucky to escape with that, but what it has done is handed the lead in this race to Jorg Steinhausen. We are hearing, though, that there is a steward's inquiry into the incident. So Steinhausen might be in the lead on the track, but we're hearing that the crash, the Barry James Callum Lawson crash, is under investigation. So it could be that it's all in vain for Steinhausen, but we don't know. Meanwhile, he's on track and he's racing hard. That's the battle for third now. Then in fourth place, it's Lovelock and Lawrence. In second place, Scott Lorry and James Neve. We now have the final place on the podium filled for the time being, at any rate, by Ben Holland and Lee Watson on the Reimer engine Suzuki. Oh, what is Roger Lovelock doing? It could be, Carol, that the change in position of the fairing is upsetting his controls. Maybe he can't get on the brakes properly or whatever, but he's certainly gone all to pieces. He's, I don't know, he's going to the shops. I don't know what's happened.
I mean, you can see it's riding a lot higher, isn't it? It could have altered the steering, as you say. It's not going to do Rick's old bones much good either, is it, on the grass?
I'm glad you said that. Here we are. That's the spin. That is the spin. And they're going backwards onto the grass. Rattling over the grass. And that's it. The blue flag indicating, will you please move over, Mick Bleakley, with his son in the chair. So Bleakley Jr. holding down the third wheel for Bleakers as he goes up the straight. 46, Mick Bleakley, about to come under the Scott Lorry hammer. They're being lapped, of course, and no disgrace. The only Windle chassis, and we've got him on the grass again. We've got Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence on the grass again. If I didn't know better, I would say that's a replay, but we know they've done it again. Here we go. Gary Smith, Gary Horsepole, number 32, going through. We're with the Smith and the Gary Horsepole battle now. Gary Horsepole, Formula F2 champion, is now coming into his own. We're watching the race leader here, so I shouldn't wax lyrical about Gary Horsepole, but credit where credit's due, he's gone well this weekend.
Yeah, he has gone very well this weekend, hasn't he? And like I say, he's jumped from the F2 onto that, and I think he did quite well in the first round at Brands, actually, didn't he? But he's beginning to get more comfortable with it, picking up as he goes along.
It's about confidence, Carol, isn't it? It's about getting to know how the outfit performs, what it does, what you can get away with without punting other people off the track, and talking as we speak. Still, the race leader under investigation. Mick Bleakley has decided to give it best and take the Windle off the track, and he does that with a fair amount of aplomb. Race leader then, still with the tail enders ahead of him. We're looking at the Rod Robinson cross-plane Yamaha, the number 10, with Roy Farmer in the chair. A good pairing this week, always there. They're always there, plugging away, plugging away. One of the teams that doesn't really get the big handouts in terms of sponsorship.
No, they don't. They struggle quite a lot, and all the money that they put into that racing comes out of their own pockets there. And but like I say, they're consistent. They've been improving, picking up, points as they go along. Hopefully later in the season.
On the last lap then, Jörg Steinhauser, Gregory Clues leading this race. In second place, Scott Lorry and James Neve. A much deserved 20-point position for them, and who knows what the outcome of the Stewart inquiry will be. It could be that we see Steinhausen demoted, or at the very worst disqualified. We don't know. We do not know what's going on in the heads of the stewards. Certainly they'll be looking at the video replay. There'll be several shots on that shunt. It was a massive shunt. The happy news is that the guys came out of it after hitting a concrete wall. I must say I'm surprised, but they went in there at some speed. Second place then, 72, Scott Lorry and James Neve. In third place, there's Rod Robinson and Roy Farmer. Here we have Ben Holland and Lee Watson, number 60. They're on a podium position in any case. 16 points they'll get this time. That will consolidate their runner-up spot in the championship. Just quickly, Carol, terrific action here at Snetterton.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, isn't it? Great racing, both in the first race and in this one as well. It's amazing. They're quite spaced out now, actually, aren't they? I think we're going to see that 1, 2, 3, and like you say, depending on what the stewards' inquiry is going to be, it could all be changed at the end of the day, couldn't it?
Just look at the big hump there, the airbox on the BMW. Makes it difficult to passenger. The Bill-based BMW also has a very high-sitting airbox, but Greg Clues is working his way around it. He'd work his way around anything, wouldn't he? He's one of the best passengers in the world.
Yeah, certainly is. He's a very, very good passenger, isn't he? And he picks and chooses who he rides with as well, doesn't he? But actually, sometimes that airbox can be an advantage on the straight because you can hide behind it.
Yeah, hide behind it, and it slows you down under braking as well. Third place in the World Championship so far, second place in the German Championship, and win here. A debut win at Snetterton for Jörg Steinhausen and Gregory Clues on the BMW. And by the way, I found out what that sticker says. It's a game reserve in Namibia. It's not an old people's home, so I'm safe for the minute. The Bygrave and Knapton BMW, Bill-based BMW, over in a fourth place, a fine fourth place. And I can tell you now that the BMW of Steinhausen and Gregory Clues has been disqualified, so everybody moves up a place. Scott Lorry, James Neve take the win, 25 points. Ben Holland, Bygraves on the podium. Andy Peach, a good result, up to fourth. Gary Smith and Horsepole. What a great result for these guys. Gives them all the encouragement they need for the future. Chaplow and Tritton, they got some points. Good, that's great news for them. And indeed, Carl Young and Guy Pawsey, all the way from Ireland, 13th, they deserve it. Reuterholt, another problem for him, he didn't make it. So Snetterton, not a good scenario for the Scandinavians. One of the main features of the race, of course, the Barry James shunt. Here he is in his civilians, he's back and out of his leathers. Huge controversy resulting in the disqualification of Jord Steinhausen. There's his passenger, Greg Clues. Barry James, shaken but not stirred.
Barry James, Callum Lawson, the last thing you want, Barry, right now is to talk to me. What was your take on that? And I know it's tough. What was your take on that?
We did get a bad exit out of the Oggie's right-hander, and Jord got a better drive, pulled alongside, and instead of staying on the inside line for the corner, came across and snapped the steering at, well, it looks like it's broke the steering, and then fired us into a solid concrete wall.
It was scary impact. You were very lucky to be here. Thank goodness you're both okay.
Barry got hold of me straight away and made sure I was okay, and we're all right, yeah. But when I seen us going towards a concrete wall, I just thought, don't get off yet, just relax, keep calm, because last thing I wanted to do is somersault and him get crushed between the wall with the bike. So I just stayed on it, kept relaxed, and come out better than I thought, really.
The scary thing is that those things happen, although it happens so quickly, it's all slow motion as it unfolds.
Yeah, I can probably tell you who made that concrete block and everything about it, to be honest. It's just a shame it's totaled the bike, and we've now got to build a brand new one.
Well, drama all through the piece, and Roger Lovelock's haymaking expedition left the door open for Ben Holland to close to within 30 points of the lead. Laurie and Neve have done themselves a power of good. Off to the TT now. Barry James, Callum, they're still there, aren't they? Tim Reeves, Ashley Halls. Well, we don't know if they're going to come back from the Isle of Man and race in the championship. We might see them again, we might not. Two other names that jump out, Gary Smith and Brian Gray, did a great job there with new passenger Andy Hills on board. Kyle Young and Guy Pawsey, another new passenger, they did well. Not a bad weekend. What a fantastic Snetterton we've had.
Fantastic racing here from Snetterton. Sadly, I can't get an interview with Scott Laurie and James Neve because as I speak, they're literally on their way to the Isle of Man for the Isle of Man TT. But we will catch up with them on home ground in Scotland at Knockhill, which is where round 4 of the Eastern Airways British F1 Sidecar Championship comes from. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. Thanks for watching. See you again. Bye-bye.